Parents of Reddit, what was your, no way is this person dating my child moment? Please like, subscribe and comment so I can create more videos for you. Not me, but someone I went to school with was dating the daughter of some local successful business owner while he was in college. It was apparent that the parents did not like him, but neither him or his girlfriend really gave a crap. And he wasn't really a scummy person, he was just a little skinny and awkward. One day he's leaving work, and as he gets into his car, this big dude grabs the keys from him and closes the door. The father gets in the passenger side of the car and the big dude gets in the back seat. The father was extremely calm, and had his checkbook with him. He wrote a check for $5,000, and said for my friend to take the check, and never be seen with his daughter again, or even near the property or his businesses. My friend initially refused, but the father said the only other option was to not take the check, and then his friend in the backseat would find other arrangements that would make him really wish that he had taken the check. They then left the car and gave him his keys back. My friend was pretty shaken up by the experience, and held on to the check for a few days until he was able to talk to his girlfriend about the situation. She was furious, of course. They then cashed the check, and flew out to California and eloped. They were secretly married for 2 years before the parents found out. Sadly, the marriage did not last for other reasons, but last I heard, they are still good friends. When he was 14, my son caught the attention of the only girl on his hockey team. They started hanging out a bit, and she would dye his hair strange colors, all harmless stuff. Then he found out she was also hanging out with some other guys, and got suspended from school for drug alcohol abuse, so he backed away. Then she drunk dialed him one night at midnight, telling him how much she missed him. He told her that this was not okay, and he liked hanging out with her, but not if she was going to be like that. I think her parents had also had enough of her antics, because she spent the following summer at a special hockey camp far away from home, and played on an all-girls team the next season. So my son basically handled it himself, but there was no way we were going to let it carry on if he hadn't. That says a shit ton of you as a parent. Rarely does anything make me say that. Good on you is all I have to say. I hope if I ever have children I can instill morals like that on them. 10/10. Not a parent, but an older brother. I'm about 13 years older than my little brother, and after my parents died, I basically raised him. He's bisexual, and when he was 16 and in his rebellious phase, he started dating this really ouchy guy who I got super bad vibes from. I didn't know until after it was over, but he was very controlling and was constantly trying to pressure my brother into doing things he wasn't really comfortable doing. Sex, drinking, smoking, etc. And since I didn't know this was happening, I just figured he would get over this creep and find someone decent later on. I didn't have any evidence that the guy was bad, so I avoided conflict by letting it happen. Yeah, bad idea, obviously. I immediately shut it down when my brother came home with a bruise on his cheek. Apparently the dickhead had hit him after my brother said no to having sex with him. There wasn't an argument between us. He realized that his ex, obviously, boyfriend was a total fucking tool after that. You are a great brother and he's lucky to have you there for him. My brother was always like this with my sister, even I'm 5 years younger than her, 7 years younger than him. I remember being in grade 6 and my sister came home with cuts on her wrist cause the boy she liked was into that sort of thing and suggested she do it. Dude got an ass whooping the next day from my brother and never set foot near my sister again. I was the guy that was never going to date someone's daughter. I started dating a girl in my late teens and it seemed to be going well. One day while hanging out at her house, her father came into the living room and started talking to her in French. They are of French heritage, I'm not. I could see that the girl was getting upset answering back. Then he got noticeable more angry and it escalated until finally she grabbed my hand, said let's go, and we went outside. I asked what that was all about and she proceeded to tell me how her father didn't want me in their house because he had heard stories about my father, the drunk that had multiple run-ins with the law, none of which were good. She tried defending me by saying that I was nice and she liked me, to which he replied that he didn't care what she thought because she needed to trust him. I was only going to hurt her and get her into trouble. Apples don't fall far from the tree. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. So I did nothing but be myself. I didn't avoid him. I didn't try to kiss his ass. I just went on as though I had never heard what was said while his daughter and I continued to date. That was in 1997. His daughter and I got engaged and bought our first house together in 2001. We were married in 2003. We tried, unsuccessfully, for many emotional years to have children. We battled together successfully through my wife's cancer between 2009, 2010. We were blessed with our first daughter in 2013. We happily welcomed our second daughter just 2 months ago. We have no intentions of not growing old together. There have been so many times over the last 15 years that my father-in-law has told me how happy he is to have me as a son-in-law and how thankful he is that his daughter is with someone that treats her so well and is always there for her. I can't imagine how our lives would been had my wife listened to her father. Edit. First off, thank you for all of the warm wishes and positive comments. I can't begin to put into words how it feels to know that my story has touched so many people. Thank you Balin11 for the gold. I might save it and surprise my wife with it for our 20th anniversary, not quite sure how to though. I apologize to all those that took the time to personally respond, but with a 2-year-old, a newborn and work, I'm going to address most questions here. Did I learn ever French? I took French all through high school, even got awards for achievement, but I'm not fluent enough to follow when my wife's family speaks it fast and throws in their small French community slang. My wife's cancer, that story is a novel in itself, but we are thankful that she has been cancer-free for over 5 years. It was sinus cancer, and if you want to know more about it, here, Reddit webpage, is a thread that I went into detail about it. My father. I know the stories of my dad. I know how the public saw him, but he was my dad. He was the man that took us camping, road trips, to the beach, every weekend somewhere different as a family. He instilled in me the moral barometer that I guide my life by and how I treat others. Was he a drunk? Yup. Did he have multiple run-ins with the law? Yup. But he was still a good human being that cared for his family. He passed away in 2002 from health problems caused by years of drinking and smoking. I remember him saying one time that if he lived to be 50, he'd be happy, but as he laid in the hospital bed dying at 54, he wanted more. He didn't know it at that time, but he had only met 2 of what would become 12 grandchildren for him, and I wish that was different. My father-in-law, we are actually very close now. I understand he's looking out for the best interest of his daughter, and he regrets not being a bigger person to judge me as an individual instead of solely where I was from. I hold nothing against him. His opinion of me changed after about 2 years of us being together. I'm sure by this point, he had seen how happy his daughter and I were together, and I'm sure by that point, he figured that there was a chance for me to be around for a long time. It was about the 2-year mark when we actually started talking. It might have helped that I had just started my apprenticeship as an electrician, and with him being a millwright we now had a common ground to talk on. Or it could have been that he's seen that I was on a path that could provide for his daughter. Either way, we started talking and it formed a bond that is strong to this day. What will I do as a father of 2 girls when my daughters bring home interests that I don't care for? I have a while to go, but when the time comes, yes, I will be looking out for my daughters as closely as I can. I fully intend on trying to get to know the individual as closely as I can. I know that looks can be deceiving, but I also know that sometimes a duck is simply a duck. As you account 2016 stated in their comment, Reddit webpage, not every story ends like ours. My wife and I are trying to raise our daughters with good morals and hopefully helping them mold into individuals with good heads on their shoulders, but it's too early for us to tell yet. We can only hope that they will be able to be a good judge of character, and we can only hope that they'll become the type of young ladies that we can trust their judgment in people. Fingers crossed. Nicholas Sparks. This name kept coming up and I had no idea who it was. Based off some of the other comments, I initially thought it was the old man in the movie Up. I haven't seen it yet and my kids are too young, but now I know who he is. Thank you Google. That's all the time I have for now. Thank you again to all those that cared enough to read and comment. It really does mean a lot to me. If I can give any advice at the end of the day, try to get to know someone before judging them. Sure, your first instincts might be right on target, but every now and again you are bound to miss one, and those could be the missed relationships that could have meant the most to you. Jesus Christ. At first I read that as we have no intentions of growing old together, assumed that the cancer had resurfaced, and my heart did a fucking nosedive. I got a phone call one time. It was some dude saying, look, I'm dating your daughter and you can't stop us, we are in love, and then I cut him off with my laughing and was like, I'm 17 bitch. Ain't got no kids. Everyone thought it was so cute that this little 6-year-old monster had a crush on my 5-year-old girl. He would write her love notes and such. When I met the kid, he had his shirt on inside out and backwards and he was chewing on his collar. No way this kid is dating my daughter. Boy can't even dress himself and he thinks his clothes are a chew toy. Over my dead body. Comedy FW, I used to chew my shirt collar when I was 5. No wonder girls never liked me. Kinda off topic, but I was always the kid that the parents wanted to date their daughters, and the daughters fucking hated me. I would have been better off in an arranged marriage society at that point in my life. This type of thing happened to me once, but I managed to make it actually work. Story time. In middle school I really liked this one girl. We'll call her Madison. We were middle schoolers, but oh boy, she was an early bloomer and looked like a high schooler. Everything about this girl could make even a grown man do a double take. So I, along with every other guy in my grade and surely the other grades, had a huge crush on her. Well, her mom was a substitute teacher that was frequently around the school and I had her in some of my classes from time to time. She loved me because I was always well behaved and answered questions, all that shit teachers love. She never outright said date my daughter, you sweet young man. But she knew me as a good kid, and that was that. Madison however had no idea I was alive. Fast forward a few years. Sophomore year of high school, I make friends with this girl I knew in middle school and it turns out, hey, she's friends with Madison. I had finally started to go through the better parts of puberty and finished the awkward stages, so she actually knew I was alive now, and talked to me a lot. We kept talking, eventually started dating, and if I could have gone back in a time machine to tell my 7th grade self that this had finally happened, oh, crisp high fives all around. Unfortunately, this girl was batshit crazy. She was devoutly religious, only a few steps away from one of those I'll just pray the sickness away kinds of religious people. So dating her was really not the most fun relationship to have in high school. Yeah, she was ridiculously hot, but she not only wouldn't want to do anything physical, she made me feel bad about wanting those things at all. So after 2 long years, we broke up and I once again wish I had a time machine to go back and tell my 7th grade self it's not fucking worth it, dude. Throwaway. When my youngest sister was 15, she started dating a 20-year-old scumbag. He dealt coke, drove drunk stoned, got my sister pregnant 3 times. She always had abortions. And my parents just worried silently, never came down hard on her when she wouldn't come for days, would cut class, would go visit him in hotels when his mother kicked him out, etc. I'm 5 years older, so was at college when this all happening. But when I'd come home on weekends, I'd go looking for her and yell and make a fuss. She, of course, hated me for years, and does not want me to tell her teen daughters about him. She finally broke up with him when he totaled my dad's car. It's a wonder he didn't die in that crash. And decades later she tells me she still thinks she could have turned him around and bears him no ill will. Fucker is probably in prison. Or dead. I'm a parent of teens now. Thankfully I don't see my kids going down that road. But I will not sit idly by, waiting for some stupid teen to finally see the light if my kids make a wrong turn. If you see something, say something. Any woman who thinks they can change a guy, let alone one that bad, is going to have a bad time. A friend of mine had this moment. But not because he was a douche or not good enough. It was the opposite. He started dating that girl, 23 years old, already a 3-year-old son. One day he met her mother for the first time. After dinner, his GF went to the bathroom. The mother sat down on the couch beside him and said, "I know you love her, and you would be a great husband, but you should leave her now. She's only dating you because you have a stable job and money. She told me she's off birth control since Tuesday. Be careful. If you don't believe me, tell her you're going back to university." Of course he didn't believe the mother at first, but after about a week he got suspicious, confronted her about the lack of birth control pills. She told him she changed to an implant. Then one day she told him that she wanted another baby before her son turned 5. Note the son just got 3 months before he dated her. Then after a few days he did exactly what the mother told him. He told her we wanted to go back to university to get his PhD. He's an engineer, but she's not the smart kind. She told him it was fine at first, but after a few days, she dumped him for some 20-year-old douchebag and she really managed to get pregnant and get the second child before the son turned 5. Buddy really dodged a bullet. Not a parent, but my little sister's boyfriend is awful. She just turned 20 but she was a teenager by the age of 6. Her hobbies are makeup, fashion and her hair. She takes hours to get ready to go out. She wears hair extensions every day. She works out. High maintenance is probably the word. Basically she's all about her appearance. Her boyfriend is not. He's overweight and scruffy. He wore sweet pants to Christmas dinner, and he ate so much he fell asleep at the table. I'm pretty sure he owns only one polo shirt, which is his idea of dressed up. He's not intelligent. Together they are the hot wife slob husband clique you find in sitcoms. However, the worst part is he's 6 years older than her and already has 2 children by 2 different mothers. Both of whom look very similar to my sister. I really don't know what she sees in him, but I hope she breaks it off soon. Most people would sympathize. But some Redditors are the type of guys who want to take notes. My son is 15 and recently had his first girlfriend. A couple of months ago, I was driving them home from school and asking about their day. The girlfriend started explaining that they were learning about the Holocaust in their WWII unit when this exchange took place. Girlfriend, the Holocaust was horrible. It should have never happened to the Jews. It should have happened to the Muslims instead. Me, after a quick break, check what? Girlfriend, it should have happened to the Muslims instead. Me, number. Something like the Holocaust shouldn't have happened to anyone at any time. Girlfriend, I just don't like Muslims. Me, have you ever met one? Girlfriend, no, but I just don't like them. After dropping her off, I had a talk with my son about how the opinions of others should not influence our own. 2 days later he broke up with her, because she wanted him to go vegan like her. He loves bacon too much to ever give it up. I was very proud of him. Not a parent, but I on the receiving end of this kind of attitude for a while. Early high school, I met a girl at my church youth group. We made eyes at each other and eventually developed some feelings for each other. When we would try to spend some time together outside of youth group, however, her mom would have a fit and do whatever she could to keep us apart. Her mother's main reason to keep us apart was that I was a year older. I believed that at first, so I did my best to convince her that I was responsible and worthy to date her daughter. She was having none of it. The girl was grounded from everything and forbidden to go to the same church just so she wouldn't see me. I thought maybe she just despised the idea of her daughter dating anybody until I heard her mom tried to set her up with one of the girl's guy friends for a school dance. For whatever reason she was determined to not let Emmy date her daughter. We found out later that her mom was probably just a controlling psycho bitch. A couple years and countless secret exchanges and meetings later, she was finally turning 18. By then, our relationship was very healthy and fairly serious. As soon as she was legally able, she moved out of her mother's house to gain independence and to allow us to be together. We spent as much time together as possible given that I was in college in a different city. Everything was great for a while until she got into some rough stuff with her newfound freedom. She got really deep into the party scene and did a whole myriad of drugs. I still held on, though, until she cheated on me a couple months ago. It's pretty ironic that I was the one that was the unfit one. It's sad to say that if you're told throughout your childhood that you're stupid, unworthy of respect, and or incapable of making good decisions, you may start to believe it, and act accordingly as an adult. You may say to yourself, drugs? What the hell, it's not like my life is going anywhere anyway. Wife and I got married at college. We were married for 2 years before her family is in Singapore, and the parents speak no English. I'm absolutely sure that when I stepped off the plane, my in-laws wanted me to disappear forever. They treated me politely but were initially very cold. Now, the family loves me. Hell, my sister-in-law had me MC her very large Chinese wedding. Are you a white guy? Because most Singaporeans, especially Chinese families, like to worship whites because they think they will get good-looking offsprings or something. It would have been a totally different outcome if you were of a different ethnicity altogether. I allowed my daughter to date the questionable young man. In my home. In the living room. Under my direct supervision. I figured that if I had forbidden it, she might resort to sneaking and lying. Turns out I was just judging a book by its cover because he was actually a nice young man. It is dumb my mother gave my sister shit just because he is white and Jewish. She said white boys and non-Christians, and every other race except black, also religion, only go after blacks for sex. She treated him so poorly and my sister was too scared of her to stand up for herself, leading to their breakup. Well, my mom sure will be pissed when she sees what I bring home. Not a parent, but I have been on the receiving end of this. Basically was dating a guy, we were incredibly happy, but when his parents found out that we were dating they told him that they didn't want him dating anyone who was non-Greek. I am Asian. He didn't listen to them because it wasn't an outcome he wanted, but after a while it became difficult because instead of dealing with the problem, for example, taking me around his family more so that they could get to know me instead of applying this blanket rule, he just avoided it so he could have the best of both worlds. He was very close to his family, as I understand a lot of people with Greek heritage are. Think my big fat Greek wedding. We broke up 2 weeks ago because his parents consistently told him he couldn't date someone outside of his culture. We still care for each other, but he told me his hands are more tied than I realize when it comes to who he can date. I told him his choice to allow someone decide for him who he can and cannot see as a decision in itself. I'm a parent, but he's only 7. When his mother and I were together though, her parents hated my guts. I was 19 and she was 18. I worked full-time at a hotel, but since I was a teenager going on young adult, I didn't care much for it. I still lived with my mom, so I didn't worry too much besides having money to go out and paying my phone bill. I would call out a lot and I eventually go fired. I was in some bad ways, nothing like drugs, but I was just lazy and would rather hang with my girlfriend, bone, get drunk and such. Funny thing was, I was really overweight, and she was a perfect 10, great ass, small waist, gorgeous face, the whole package. I guess that was another reason why they didn't want me around her. Anyways, I understood why they didn't want me around her, but she defended me and we kept together despite what her whole family said. She got pregnant, and that's when I went and changed myself. I tried looking for jobs, but I couldn't find anything. The baby came and I still couldn't get a decent job. Her family finally convinced her to leave me and she did. Those were some real bad times. I had a shitty job, would take the bus every morning at 4:30 am, gained more weight, etc. She ended up marrying some other guy. Even worse times for me. But after about 2 years in total despair, I got my shit together. I started working out, losing weight, getting buff. I landed an awesome job that paid me more than I ever made. I'm still there. Built my credit, bought a car, got my own place, etc. I would go pick my son up from her house or her family's house and they would see how much better I was doing, and that's when they changed their tone with me. They started telling me to get back together with her. They would tell me her marriage was intolerable, that she had deep financial troubles. I would just laugh and say, now you want me to be with her after all the shit you told me. IDK, haven't told many people that story, thought you would enjoy it. I guess you can say some people you think are wrong for your child end up being better than you could have ever imagined. Not a parent here, but I forbid my female friends to date my prick co-worker. He brags about cheating on girls and I know he'll treat them like an object. He's even gone so far as to talk shit about another girl's boyfriend just to try and get them to break up. Edit, I'm pretty sure one of my co-workers quit because of him. As a girl with many male friends, I really appreciate you. I absolutely listen to my guy friends when they say I love the guy, but you don't want to date him. Trust me. I said to her, he's 3. You are 13. Come back in 20 years. When I met my kid's new girlfriend at his brother's football game, she was wearing a halter top and short shorts that showed butt cheeks. Everyone else was wearing jackets because it was chilly. She handed my kid a $20 for spending money. He was 17, she was 21. Then I found out she was a stripper. It was oh, hell, no. Fortunately, she broke up with him because he wasn't into kinky sex like she was. He told me he was relieved because she was scary in bed and didn't understand why she wanted to do certain things. Bless his heart. So there's kind of a funny joke between me and my best friend. She has a 2-year-old son that she jokes is gay as hell. He loves playing with mommy's makeup and he once made out with his own reflection in a department store full body mirror while her son and I went to get a button-up shirt. She flat out said Zwiebelsaft, when my son is of age in 16 years, if he is gay after all, you are not to date him. To which I said I can't stand 18-year-olds now. God forbid when I'm 40. I didn't read your name at first and assumed Zwiebelsaft was some weird German expression relating to the gays. I'm the older sister. My dad doesn't have Reddit. My dad made my brother stop seeing his girlfriend because her house got shot up and her car blown up. She was a super sweet girl with a really nice family. We never found out if they were attacked randomly, or if they were somehow gang affiliated, or if they were attacked because they were a mixed family. There can be a lot of anger towards mixed families where the father is white and the mother is black around here. Dad was afraid my brother would be caught up in whatever happened. I think it was probably a good idea to break them up, but everyone was sad it happened. I found out some courtier's son had seduced my noble daughter. I spent generations breeding geniuses with strong and attractive people, modifying my religion, culture and succession laws to make her my heir. The worst part. This inbred, slow, stuttering sod was a carling. Did you try bribing other courtiers to arrange an accident for him and the baby? I was the kid they didn't let her date. She was rich, I was poor, I was depressed, she was happy, she never smoked a cigarette, I became a heroin addict, and you know the rest of the goddamn story. Edit. Yeah, I get it, they made the right decision. The funny thing is, people make mistakes, and it wasn't their decision to make. You made a lot of money in the heroin trade. At least for one summer. You found another girl. You were happy. She was thinking of going to art school. But then the supply got tight. No shipments were coming in. You tried to pick up some stuff when a shipment arrived, but there was a riot at the loading docks. But your girl knew a guy who was holding. It's just that he wanted her to do things, but you needed to score. And then you must have had a dirty needle or something, because your arm was infected. You and your partner decided to drive down south, pick up a shipment there, and then come back. But the cops busted you. Your partner was in prison, and your arm. They had to cut off your arm. Opposite side of this situation. Truth story. Was a 21-year-old male, met a fun girl at work. We had a large group that would go to the local pub bar on Fridays, so one day I invited her to go with us all, not realizing she was 20 and therefore illegal in the US. She goes, we have fun. The next week I ask her out for a traditional date of dinner and a movie. Unbeknownst to me, her psycho ex-boyfriend thinks I have stolen her away and tempted her with the evils of booze. He calls her parents and tells them I'm smuggling her into bars. I show up to pick her up. Meet her brother, who is going on about being a former coke addict and is in rehab. I tell him I sympathize, having tried it once but not being a fan. He proceeds to run out and announce, "See, he tried it and he's fine." After that, the dad dragged me into the garage and told me if I contaminated his baby girl, he'd literally hunt me down and kill me. I didn't want to offend this dinosaur, as a black belt, so I just looked him in the eye and said, "I respect your daughter because she deserves it, not because you want me to." That seemed to placate him and off we went to our date. The drama level was so high I never went back and told her at work that life was too short. My sisters and I are all around the same age, me being the oldest. Sadly, they have grown up to be basically whores who like using guys to help them pay their bills and for carefree company. I've seen genuinely well-mannered guys get played by them. These guys know about their game and yet still go into it. The power of beauty and telling sob life stories as a way to woo people. I wouldn't let my sisters go with guys that remind me of them though. It's like they can't smell guys that are manipulative and unable to commit just like them, lol. Those are the ones they look for relationships with. Send them my way. It'll be a crushing disappointment when they realize I got no money at all. Not a parent but younger sister older sister. The broad had a Chanel sign tattooed on her wrist. I dug my nails into his shoulder as deeply and as hard as I could and said number. Months later they are madly in love. We're still waiting to see if she gold digs my brother. And this other broad tells me she believes in fist divorces as in whoever she marries first she will likely divorce. It was at that point I told my brother, "You two are not a good fit." I talked to him for a while, normal stuff. Then my daughter came down the stairs and it was just so odd. Their interaction together just seemed off. Plus next to my kid this guy was tiny. I mean he must have been 1/4 of a foot tall. The look on his face too. The motherfucker was purple. No one should look that purple. That's when I realized he was a genetically modified turnip that had gained sentience. No way was she going out with that. My daughter was going to her junior prom with a boy I didn't know. I figured that she is intelligent so this kid couldn't be all bad. He pulls up on a motorcycle and this is no boy, it is a 20-year-old man. So I bring this guy into my house and ask him to step into my room. Once we are in my room, I open up my closet and the guy asks me, "Dude, what is that?" And I tell him it's called a serious tag, the OP should have used one.